Chris Haynes, senior NBA insider, soon to launch Haynes Briefs YouTube show. Haynes Briefs. How about a round of applause for that, Chris Haynes? I like that. Haynes Briefs. Haynes Briefs. Haynes Briefs.
Talking about the Haynes report.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Of course. I remember that shit.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Haynes Briefs show here on YouTube. I want to thank everyone who's been coming to this community and commenting, sharing, liking, and just telling everybody about this new community. So I appreciate that. I want to encourage you all to put this YouTube channel on instant notifications so you can be notified immediately when we drop new episodes. And again, thank you very much. With that being said, we have to, today we're discussing some very, this news is something you do, as a reporter, you don't like reporting news like that, like this, I should say. And especially when, you guys know how close I am with Damian Lillard. That's my guy. And we saw him go down in Game 4 against the Indiana Pacers last night. The Bucks calling it a left lower leg injury. I reported, sources relayed to me that the fear is that he tore his Achilles. So he will receive an MRI today in Milwaukee, get the final diagnosis. But either way, it's going to be a pretty decent road of recovery for him. And this is someone who fought his way back from a blood clot diagnosis. And he didn't know if he was going to return to play this season or whenever. Definitely this season was in question when he first got that diagnosis. He took it very seriously, as you should. You seen Victor Wembanyama when he got diagnosed with his blood clot. This is something you do not play with. He was out for a little bit over a month. And the blood clot thankfully dissolved. He got back to work as much as possible. Tried to ramp up his conditioning, ramp up everything to make sure he can be there for his team when the playoffs came around. And he did that. And, it's just unfortunate that this had to happen. He's somebody who really believed in this Buck squad, believed when fully healthy that they could make noise. And for the second year, injuries, did them in. And it's looking like, now the Pacers are up 3-1 in this series, going back to Indiana for Game 5. It's a tough road for the team, tough road for Damian Lillard. Last season's playoffs, they were ousted by the Indiana Pacers. Lillard suffered a strained Achilles. Giannis was out as well. So very tough, very tough. You talk about Damian Lillard, it's very mighty eerie. Like this time last year, exactly a year ago, to yesterday, which would have been April 27th, exactly a year ago is when he strained his right Achilles. Strained it. Game 4 against the Indiana Pacers last year, a year ago. So a year ago, and then fast forward to a year ago, the very same day, Game 4, Indiana Pacers. And this happened. What I can say is spoke with Damian briefly, and he's in good spirits, motivated on attacking this recovery process, and looks forward to returning to all-star form whenever the timeline is established. Again, MRI today. I do want to say this. So, I've been covering Dame his whole career, and he's never had an issue on his left side. You know, he suffered a broken foot. He suffered an Achilles strain, as I talked about last year. But that was on his right side, never on his left. And even the blood clot injury, or the blood clot in the calf, on his right side. So there's nothing related in that regard when you're looking at prior injuries. So, you know, that's good news. And one thing I do want to say is that we see oftentimes, especially on social media, when there's a player who suffers a significant injury, and you just see the outpouring on social media from players tweeting about, tweeting their support to the player injured. And, you know, that it wasn't anything differently this time, you know, as it pertains to Damian Lillard. He's somebody who's well respected around the league. You've seen players tweeting their support for Dame and wishing him a speedy recovery. And, you know, my phone's been blowing up with players, star players, to household name players reaching out and asking for Dame's number and, you know, facilitating that so they can get in touch with them themselves. And so the outpouring, you know, you see the basketball community come together, you know, as competitive as they are. You know, when injuries come about, they come together. And, you know, that is truly a pretty cool sight to behold once that takes place, considering the nature of what's going on. You know, it's tough. It's tough. You think about, go back to that blood clot diagnosis from that Dame found out about, you know, for a few days prior. He was dealing with some soreness in his calf and played through it and thought, you know, hoped that it would go away. And it didn't until he finally got an MRI and further examination, and it revealed what it revealed. But when it came to that blood clot diagnosis, he took that very seriously. There was a family member who had suffered, who was diagnosed with that similar situation, blood clot, and due to that, did not survive. So, you know, that was a situation he was taking very seriously, and was prepared to go through whatever to make sure that he was healthy, and he wanted to be there for his family, be there for his kids. And so at that point, basketball had to take a backside. And, you know, just for him coming back, getting that situation resolved to where we are now. And it's very unfortunate. But, you know, I want to step outside of my reporting role because y'all know Dame is my guy. And, you know, it's tough to talk about. It's tough to see him going through this. So I want to, you know, issue my, you know, even though I've talked to him briefly, but just want to say that, you know, he's a guy who's a warrior. He's a guy who always fights back. I mean, if you remember, for those who were following Dame, it's probably going to be majority of Portland Trailblazer fans, but when you're following Dame early in his career, even before he got drafted, he had put out this YouTube series. It was called License to Lillard. And I want to urge y'all to go check that out. But this was just a really great, thorough, behind-the-scenes look on how he's attacking his workouts. It takes you behind the scenes of the ritual, the regimen, everything that he's doing. And it was pretty cool to see at that time. Nobody was really doing that then, not too many. And so I can predict a license to Lillard too. of him getting at it. The road to recovery. Damian Lillard getting back at it. So I think when all is well and said, and he's back on the court, he's not coming back to be an average player. He's not coming back to just try to fill a role on a team. He's coming back to be the player he was, and he's coming back to be a better player because every offseason, that is the plan every offseason for him, to come back and become a better player, not to stay status quo. So I don't expect anything less from Damian Lillard. So he's in good spirits. He's motivated. He's confident that he's going to attack this recovery and come back a better player. And I believe him because I've known him for over a decade, and I've seen the work that he puts in from behind the scenes. He's going to do great things. So definitely a tough blow. But he sees it. He's read texts and listened to some voicemails of people who have reached out, and so that's definitely comforting to see. So I just wanted to, I felt I had to come here and kind of drop a Damian Lillard update, considering what happened yesterday. Tough blow for Damian Lillard. Milwaukee Bucks down 3-1 in the series. It's not looking good. Everybody, I'll have a few more episodes this week on the Haynes Briefs show here on YouTube, so please continue to check us out. Again, I encourage you to subscribe, comment, share, and even put us on instant notifications when we drop new episodes, so you can be notified immediately. For that, everybody enjoy your day. Enjoy your Monday. Take care.